Motion to approve the agenda as has been circulated. Councillor Abel, thank you. Second, Councillor Puri. Comments or questions? All in favor? Contrary? That's carried. Thank you. Planning applications. Read my public planning statement. Welcome to Aurora's public planning meeting. The purpose of this public meeting is to inform the public and obtain public input regarding the zoning bylaw amendment. No decision will be made tonight with respect to application number 1. For the planning application that we are considering tonight, the following process will occur. Town planning staff will outline the purpose of the planning application being considered. The applicant will then be given an opportunity to make a presentation and address issues raised in the staff report or public concerns already filed. Following these presentations, members of the public will be invited to offer their comments or concerns respecting the proposal, and finally we will answer those questions as needs be. Once we've heard from all the members of the public, I will ask members of council if they have any questions or comments with respect to the presentation of the proponent. It should be noted that comprehensive report will be prepared and presented to a future general committee meeting, assessing the merits of the application before us and providing council with a recommendation for consideration. Very important that the town receive the correct names and addresses of individuals having an interest in the planning application. Therefore, if you plan to speak at council this evening, or if you wish to be notified of any further council or committee meetings regarding the application being considered, you must complete one of the green interested party forms that our clerk, Linda, is holding up, and give it to the committee secretary sitting at the front. Under the Planning Act, the applicant or residents have the right to appeal any decision of council on a planning application to the Ontario Municipal Board, but you must verbally express any comments or concerns here tonight, or submit any comments or concerns in writing to the town clerk prior to the town adopting the amendment. The Ontario Municipal Board may dismiss all or part of an appeal made in respect of an application. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. Your name, address, comments, and other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including the town's website. Questions about the collection of information should be directed to the town clerk, Town of Aurora. I will now ask the town clerk to confirm that notification to the public has occurred as required by the Planning Act. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Respecting item 1, application for zoning bylaw amendment, York Region Christian Seniors Home Inc., 440, 460, 480, and 500 William Graham Drive, blocks 4, 5, and 6, Plan 65M-4442, file number ZBA-2016-12, on January 5th, 2017. A notice of complete application and notice of public planning meeting was published in the Auroran and Aurora Banner newspapers and given by mail to all addressed property owners within a minimum of 120 meters of the subject lands. A notice of public planning meeting sign was also posted on the subject lands. Public meeting notification has been provided in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I will now ask our Director of Building and Planning Services to begin with the presentations. Mr. Ramuno, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This zoning amendment application will have our manager, Glenn Letman, provide a brief overview, and the applicant's representative, Mr. Decima, is here with their planning consultant.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Why don't you just go sit down?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Glenn, would it be easier if you just sat down?
Pardon me?
Would it be easier if you just sat in your spot?
I could do that. This one works? Oh, there we are. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Thank you. This evening's zoning bylaw amendment application. The applicant is York Region Christian Seniors Homes, Inc. The location of the property is 450, 460, 480, and 500 William Graham Drive. File number ZBA 21612. The proposal being considered tonight at this public meeting is to amend zoning bylaw 2213-78 to the RA3-15 and hold RA3-16 zones to include assisted living units or nursing units as a permitted use. The applicant also proposes to amend the zoning bylaws to the two aforementioned RA3 zones and also the I institutional 27 exception zone to allow a maximum building height of 26 meters within the permitted 6-story height limit. The subject lands are located on the south side of William Graham Drive, west of Leslie Street. This is an air photo that shows the westerly portion of the property, which is currently developed with a seniors building, and the 3 blocks within the remainder of the lands shown in red. I have another schedule which shows the 3 blocks, but these are the lands that would be subject to the zoning bylaw amendment. Lands currently on the north side of William Graham Drive are under development by Brookfield. From a policy perspective, the applicant will be reviewed for consistencies with the following provincial and regional and municipal policies: provincial policy statement, growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, Lake Simcoe Protection Plan, York Region Official Plan, the specifics and policies of the 2C Secondary Plan, and of course the standards of our existing bylaw 2213-78. The lands are currently designated as Urban Residential 2 by the 2C Secondary Plan approved by Council and in force. The Urban Residential 2 designation provides provisions which promotes well-designed transit-supportive medium-density housing forms which are in close proximity to community and commercial services. The 2C Secondary Plan limits building heights to 6 stories but allows for an increase in building height due to valley and undulating topography. The current land use designation is identified on this schedule. You will see that the entire parcel is designated RU2. The existing zoning bylaw, the subject lands as identified, are currently zoned RA3-15, which is a site-specific zoning, RA3-16 with a hold provision, and the institutional exception 27 within the bylaw, also with a hold provision. The RA3 zone permits minimum and maximum number of apartment units, and the I institutional zone permits only assisted living units. There is no unit specification within the I zone. The current bylaw allows a maximum building height of 20 meters and 6 stories. This identifies the 3 blocks under consideration within the subject lands, 3 individual blocks within the M plan, and 3 different phases as they will be coming forward. Again, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application applies to these 3 blocks, which collectively are owned by the York Region Christian Seniors Homes, Inc. The amendment to the RA3-15 and RA3-16 zones would include assisted living units as a permitted use, and the RA3-15, RA3-16, and institutional zones are also proposed to be amended to allow a maximum building height of 26 meters within the 6-story provisions. Currently, as identified, the bylaw allows a maximum of 20 meters or 6 stories. This particular chart, which is identified within the staff report, identifies the current number of units which are permitted by the zoning bylaw, and also identifies the proposed units. The area that you'll see the 3 separate zones which are RA3 currently. The RA3-13 zone at the top. There's a current zone minimum unit, current zone maximum unit. The actual building, as this property has already been developed, has 154 units. There is no proposed assisted living units within the existing building. The shaded lands identify the current zone provisions for minimum and maximum number of units, and in the central column identifies the minimum number of units which is proposed on the RA 314, which is between 70 and 96, and the RA 315, which would be between 76 and 160, and the proposed assisted living units, which would be allowed to be developed within those two apartment blocks, are identified on the right-hand column, and that is a range between 60 and 100, 30 and 100. The totals are at the bottom. So the current minimum number of units permitted by the overall bylaw would be 300. That would not change. The total maximum number of units allowed by the bylaw is 480. That would be reduced by 70 seniors units, and the range that would be permitted by the assisted living units proposed by the applicant and under review by staff is between 90 and 200 units. I think it's worthwhile to point out that the bottom column, which identifies the institutional zone, there's no proposed development concept plan for those lands right now. There is no limitation on the number of assisted living units within that zone, so that has not been determined. The number of units is not applicable to that particular zone category. This identifies the cross-section for the RA 314 zone, which is that central parcel, which was submitted to staff to illustrate the need for the height exception. This will be under review by staff. Undulating topography at the rear of the lands, which is what the applicant has requested a 6-meter increase in height for. Preliminary comments have been undertaken by staff, and we will review the following matters for council consideration prior to filing a staff report: compatibility with surrounding and existing future land uses, conformity with the urban residential 2 land use designation policies and densities, and evaluation of grading complexities to address the building height exception. In conclusion, Mr. Mayor, staff will undertake a technical review of the subject applications and bring a staff report back to either a public meeting of council or a general committee meeting. I have a couple of other slides here which are strictly for illustrative purposes. This is the central portion of the property, the RA 314 zone, which is where the cross sections are shown. This is a concept plan which would be the next phase of development as proposed by the applicant. This is an overall concept plan. I appreciate it's a little bit difficult to read at this scale, Mr. Mayor. The westerly portion, which is shaded, is the existing built form. Phase 2 and Phase 3 are the 2 future phases, and the area to the right or the east adjacent to Leslie Street does not have any conceptual development plans proposed at this time, so that's not been provided by the applicant on these lands. And for the purposes of what council has previously seen, this is an architectural rendering of the overall development, looking in a southwesterly direction from Leslie Street along William Graham Drive. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Mr. Decuma, you or your colleague? And may I suggest, sir, that you either perhaps just sit at the end seat there? Sure.
Great. Well, good evening. Thank you for that presentation. I'll just build on it and provide some more detail on the application today. With me today is Larry Decuma with the York Region Christian Seniors. So again, this is an overview of the site area, showing phases 2, 3, and 4. The zoning amendments proposed today, there's 2 of them. One is to change the height, remaining within the 6 stories permitted, but changing from 20 to 26 meters in height. That's on phases 2, 3, and 4. And the second is the addition of assisted living units. That would be on phases 2 and 3. Brief background on the York Region Christian Seniors. They're a nonprofit organization. Their mandate is to provide affordable care options to its residents and to the larger Aurora community. This is phase one. As mentioned, this phase is under construction currently, and one of the buildings in phase one has already been constructed. So the first amendment to the zoning bylaw, the addition of assisted living units, these are an institutional use, and they're proposed to be added again to phases 2 and 3. The York Region Christian Seniors have found that there is a greater demand now for assisted living units, and the minimum critical number of these units is 80. That's to allow for nursing and food facilities for those units. And again, the focus here is to allow them to be affordable in the market. There is an increased, well, the assisted living units would bring up the overall total, but it's worth noting that they are approximately a third the size of one of the apartment units, and I'll go into more detail on that later. So here's a comparison of the independent living apartments that are already built in phase 1 and the proposed assisted living units that will be part of phases 2 and 3. The living apartments are about 1,100 square feet in size. They're for single and double occupancy. They typically include 2 bathrooms and they have a full kitchen. The assisted living units are 400 to 450 square feet. They are single occupant and have 1 bathroom with a kitchenette, no cooking appliances. This chart was already shown. I can go back to it later if there are questions, but I think we did a good job of overviewing the changes here. In terms of the height, this is an image showing the grade differential currently in phase 2 down to the pond in the back. There are a few reasons why the height amendment is proposed. Again, it will remain within the 6 stories permitted. The grade differential between the front and the rear is as much as 4.9 meters, and that grade differential is consistent among phases 2, 3, and 4. So if measuring from the middle of that differential, we get a loss of approximately 2.5 meters. And additional height is required to allow for the transition between the amenity level to the assisted living unit level, and again to the apartment units. This is for mechanical and plumbing requirements. There's also additional height required in the ground floor due to higher ceilings. There's some large spaces there, gathering rooms and dining rooms, and to make those spaces more inviting, there's a higher ceiling requirement. This is again the conceptual development shown in phase 2 with 2 cross-section lines, A and B. And this is showing more detail of those cross-sections. So the green line showing the grade in both cross-sections. Cross-section A is showing the podium in the center with the amenity space on the bottom 2 floors and then assisted living above. And cross-section B is showing the 2 sort of 6-story living unit towers, again with amenity on the bottom 2 floors, assisted living on the 3rd, and then transitioning into the independent living. And we've also highlighted the areas that are required for this mechanical and plumbing transition between the uses in this building. This is a preliminary floor plan showing the individual apartment units, or independent rather. This apartment unit is showing a 2-bedroom model with 2 bathrooms, again measuring approximately 1,100 square feet. And this is a conceptual plan showing the assisted living unit. This one measures 402 square feet, showing the bedroom, the bathroom, and a small kitchenette. Assisted living units will be on the amenity podium and also on the 3rd floor. And again, this is the conceptual rendering of the overall development. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. First of all, I'll open it up and see if there's any members of the public who have any questions. I don't see any members of the public here, actually. So I will, well, there is one gentleman up there.
He's a regular fixture.
We're being, that's, what, you're saying that's not a gentleman, that's only Terry? In that case, I will go to members of council questions for the proponent, please. And remember to wait for the bottom green corner to turn green with your name. That indicates that your light is on. Your microphone is on. Councillors, any comments or questions for the proponent? Seeing none, then I will close the public portion of this meeting, and I will ask one of our councillors, please, to put the motion on the floor. Councillor Maracas, Councillor Perry, thank you. Speakers, please press your button for those who would like to speak to the item, please. Seeing no questions, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Contrary? That is carried. May I please have confirming bylaw? Councillor Abel, thank you. Councillor Thompson, all in favor? Contrary, that's carried. Motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Kim, Councillor Gartner, all in favor? Contrary, that is carried. Thank you very much.